Welcome students to Biology Tutorials by Dr. Pooja Yadav. Hope you're all doing well. In today's lecture, we will talk about the second important phylum of invertebrates, that is the Coelenterata. So if we see phylum Coelenterata, which is the second important phylum of invertebrates, इनको हम commonly stinging organisms भी कहते हैं because of the presence of special cells in their body wall which are called as nidoblasts. See इधर silent होता है. ये निडोब्लास्ट एक कैरेक्टरिस्टिक सेल है इस फाइलम का जिसकी वजह से इस फाइलम को हमने नाम दिया है ऑफ Nidaria also. I'll just talk about these cells in my next slide. As of now, if we talk about the habitat, जो coelentrates हैं, they are all marine. Most of them, they are marine. They are confined to shallow sea water, except for one exception, which is a freshwater form, the hydra. Usually, ये जो coelentrates होते हैं, they may exist as solitary, अकेले होते हैं, or they may form colonies. They may be sedentary, they may be fixed to the substratum, or few of the forms may also be free swimming. Some coelentrates, they grow on other organisms, and some you can find living as commensals also. Very important feature is of the body form. यहाँ पे दो बेसिक बॉडी फॉर्म्स हैं. बॉडी फॉर्म्स को हम zooids भी बोलते हैं. The two basic forms are the polyp and the medusa. Polyp form जो है, this is a tubular or a cylindrical form which is basically fixed to the substratum. So it is a sessile form. And this form is an asexual form because it reproduces by budding. As you can see that this is the main body of the hydra and this is the small bud which has arisen by budding. Now the medusa, the second zooid form, it is bell-like or umbrella-like and it is free swimming and is always solitary, right? These are the sexual forms because of the presence of gonads here. Now, the very important feature of the phylum Coelenterata is that they exhibit the property of polymorphism. Now, what is polymorphism? See, poly means many and morphic means the forms. So what I mean here is एक ही individual के अंदर it can behave as a polyp. जैसे हाइड्रा है ये सिर्फ polyp फॉर्म में एग्जिस्ट कर सकता है. जो जेलीफिशेस हैं दे कैन बी ओनली मेड्यूसा फॉर्म या ऐसा भी हो सकता है कि किसी ऑर्गेनिज्म में बोथ पॉलिप एंड मेड्यूसा में एग्जिस्ट, राइट. और इट कुड ऑल्सो बी कि एक ऑर्गेनिज्म के अंदर ये दोनों बेसिक जूऑइड्स भी एग्जिस्ट करेंगे, द पॉलिप एंड द मेड्यूसा, और साथ में इनमें इनके मॉडिफिकेशंस भी एग्जिस्ट करेंगे. इट कुड बी दैट देयर आर बेसिक पॉलिप एंड द मेड्यूसॉइड फॉर्म इन एन ऑर्गेनिज्म plus certain modifications of polyps, like we have gastrozoids, dactylozoids, gonozoids. There may be certain modifications of medusoid form, like it could be bracts, it could be pneumatophores. So many forms may exist in one organism, and that phenomenon is called as polymorphism. Many forms besides the basic polyp and medusoid forms existing in one single organism. अब पॉलीमॉर्फिज्म का इनको एडवांटेज क्या है बिकॉज इसके अंदर सिंस देयर इज द टिश्यू ग्रेड ऑफ ऑर्गेनाइजेशन तो बिकॉज ऑफ एग्जिस्टिंग ऑफ डिफरेंट जोइड फॉर्म्स देयर इज अ डिविजन ऑफ लेबर. पॉलीमॉर्फिज्म का सिग्निफिकेंस क्या है? देयर इज डिविजन ऑफ लेबर. डिफरेंट फॉर्म्स में परफॉर्म डिफरेंट फंक्शंस फॉर द ऑर्गेनिज्म. Another very important feature of the phylum Coelenterata is that they show the phenomenon of alteration of generation, जिसको हम metagenesis भी कहते हैं. Now we should understand this. Alternate का मतलब एक बार one form and the another time the another form. So here by metagenesis what we understand is the polyp form, which is the asexual form, से derive होगा the medusoid form and medusa will again give rise to polyp. So both the forms will alternate in the life cycle of an organism. If we talk about the symmetry, it is a radial symmetry about the oral aboral axis. Germ layers, again like sponges, coelentrates भी diploblastic हैं. यहाँ पे दो germ layers हैं, ectoderm and endoderm. There is no mesoderm here, hence diploblastic. The level of organization is tissue grade. This is the only phylum, in fact, where there is tissue grade of organization. Head and appendages, they are absent. However, around the mouth, encircling the mouth, there could be short, slender, extensile projections, what we call as tentacles. And these tentacles may help the organism in food capturing, intake of the food, and also in defense of it. Now, another very important point is the body wall. Here we have two distinct layers, which are the epidermis, which would be derived from the embryonic ectoderm. Since there were two germ layers, ectoderm, so ectoderm will give rise to the outer layer, the epidermis. This epidermis, it has several type of cells. One important cell present in the epidermal layer is the stinging cell, what I said as nidoblast, by which this phylum gets its name as Nidaria. Now, if you see this nidoblast here, this is a charged nidoblast cell. जब ये अनचार्ज्ड होता है, तो ये जो आपको यहाँ पे स्टाइलेट और ये जो थ्रेड ट्यूब दिख रही है, ये इस जो वास्ट लाइक स्ट्रक्चर है कैप्सूल, इसके अंदर एम्बेडेड होता है। ठीक है, और ये जो थ्रेड ट्यूब है, ये स्टाइलेट के अक्रॉस ऐसे कॉइल्ड होती है। बट जैसे ही इस सेल के आसपास, मतलब जब इस ऑर्गेनिज्म के पास, सिलेंट्रेट के आसपास कोई प्रे आता है, कोई फूड सोर्स आता है, तो स्टिमुलस की वजह से ये निडोब्लास्ट जो है वो चार्ज हो जाते हैं। What we mean by a charged nidoblast is because of the stimulus, because of the pressure, ये जो स्टाइलेट है along with the thread tube, it thrown out of this capsule। ठीक है, ये ऑपरकुलम होता है यहाँ पे, जैसे कि इसका माउथ कवर्ड होता है, तो ऑपरकुलम से ये जो स्टाइलेट है बियरिंग द स्पाइन्स अगेन फॉर इंजेक्टिंग इनटू द प्रे, ये थ्रेड ट्यूब बाहर आ जाती है। ये जो थ्रेड ट्यूब है, दिस गेट्स दिस पियर्सेस द प्रे, और इसके अंदर इस ट्यूब के थ्रू एक हिप्नोटॉक्सिन इज बीइंग रिलीज्ड इनटू द प्रे, which basically paralyzes the prey. So these are special cells, the nidoblasts, which helps in offense and defense of the ciliate. कहाँ present होते हैं? These are present in the outermost layer, the epidermis. Apart from the characteristic cells of this phylum, nidoblasts, और भी बहुत तरह के cells हैं यहाँ पे. There are interstitial cells. These are reserve cells. अब ये क्या काम करते हैं? These help in the repair of worn out cells. Damaged cells को replace करते हैं interstitial cells. Also, there may be present certain muscular cells in the epidermal layer, the outer layer. So the function would be, the epidermis will serve the protective function. It has secretory and sensory role. Nervous, there are the musculature cells, so it has muscular function as well. अब जो innermost layer है, that is called as the gastrodermis, which is derived from the embryonic endoderm. यहाँ जो cells हैं, they are columnar in shape and they are flagellated gastrodermal cells. They will serve the function of digestion, absorption, circulation, and musculature. Now, since there is no mesoderm, so there between the two layers, epidermis and gastrodermis, there is present an intermediate gelatinous non-cellular. यहाँ पे कोई भी cells derive नहीं होते, so that is why it is gelatinous supporting layer, जिसे हम कहते हैं mesoglea. अब जो polypoid forms हैं, जो polyp forms हैं, for example hydra and the class hydrozone को जो बिलोंग करेंगे सिलेंट्रेट, यहाँ पे जो मीजोग्लिया है, इट इज वेरी थिन एंड इन द फॉर्म ऑफ नॉन सेल्यूलर बेसल लेमेला, सिर्फ एक बेसल मेम्ब्रेन की तरह होगी. हाउएवर इन सर्टेन मेड्यूसॉइड फॉर्म्स, this mesoglia layer, this intermediate layer between epidermis and gastrodermis, may be a thick fibrous connective tissue with or without cells. If we talk about the body cavity, there is not a separate cavity in coelentrates, hence they are called as acoelomates. Skeleton अगर देखेंगे तो there could be presence of calcareous exoskeleton, or there may be the endoskeleton, which is precisely just the fluid which is present in the gastrovascular cavity and which behaves as a hydraulic skeleton. Now we talk about the digestive cavity. यहाँ पे there is only a single cavity which is called as coelenterone, या इसको हम gastrovascular cavity भी बोलते हैं, and hence the name coelenterata. Now the coelentron is lined by a single layer of flagellated cells. The digestive tract is incomplete. What do we mean by an incomplete digestive tract? यहाँ पे during the development जो blastopore है, it develops into just one single opening which is called as the mouth. तो जो there is just single opening mouth which helps in ingestion of water and also for the egestion. So this tract is called as an incomplete tract because of the presence of just a single opening. Here in this case, it is the mouth. Now, this cavity, it may be just a simple sac-like, as in Hydra, or it may be divided into compartments, as we see in sea anemone, or it may be highly branched in Aurelia, the jellyfishes. If we talk about nutrition, the जो coelentrates हैं, they take the complete food, it is holozoic, but यहाँ जो food होता है, that is the animal source. So they are carnivorous. Digestion is partly intracellular. It is outside the cell in the gastrovascular cavity, and it would be partly intracellular within the gastrodermal cells. जो respiration है, that is through general body surface by diffusion. If we talk about circulation, exactly a circulatory system is absent since there is no organ system here. It is only tissue grade of organization. So basically जो gastrovascular cavity है, जो coelentron है, it performs the function of circulation as well besides digestion. So that is why this is also called as gastrovascular cavity. Gastro means a cavity which serves the role of digestion and absorption and which also serves in circulation of the digested food. So we say it as gastrovascular cavity. If we talk about excretion and osmoregulation, again it is through general body surface by diffusion. यहाँ जो excretory waste है, that is ammonia. So coelentrates, they are called as ammonotelic organism. जो fresh water forms हैं जैसे hydra and the other species of hydrozoan, they would require osmoregulation. So इनकी जो gastrovascular cavity है उसके अंदर एक giant contractile vacuole present होता है which maintains the osmolarity of the fluid inside. And जो fluid endosmosis से पानी जो अंदर आ रहा है into the gastrovascular cavity, so the salt balance would be maintained here by the contractile vacuole and excess water will be removed from the fresh water forms. If we talk about the nervous system, it is a very primitive type comprising of a plexus of unpolar. Now, plexus का मतलब होता है it is a diffuse network. There is a network of unpolarized nerve cells. These nerve cells, they are multipolar here present again in the body wall, the outermost layer epidermis. As such, there is no central nervous system that is present here. So there is no CNS. If we talk about sensory structures, so sensory cells may be present in both the layers, the outer epidermis and the inner gastrodermis. Medusiforms के अंदर ocelli होता है. This ocelli is the eyes and also they have statocysts. Now statocysts are the balancing organs which help in the maintenance of equilibrium. क्योंकि medusa क्या था? These are umbrella like structures. These are free swimming, free floating in the water. So to maintain the balance there, the sensory cells, statocysts are present in the medusa forms. If we talk about reproduction, mostly these organisms are unisexual, but some of them may be hermaphrodites having both the female and the male gonads. Generally, जो polyp forms होते हैं, they reproduce by asexual methods, like as we see in the previous slide, Hydra. For example, मैंने आपको दिखाया था कि उसमें एक small bud arise हो रही थी. So, जो polyp forms हैं, they divide asexually, usually by budding. But जो medusoid forms हैं, क्योंकि इनके अंदर simple gonads present होते हैं, so they are the sexual forms and they reproduce asexually. ये जो gonads हैं, they may be derived from either the epidermal cells or the gastrodermal cells, but these gonads, they are very simple gonads. Simple gonads का मतलब है that these do not have the gonoducts. So the sperms and the ova, they would be released from their respective gonads straight into the gastrovascular cavity. Fertilization, it could be external और it could be internal. डेवलपमेंट की अगर बात करेंगे तो यहाँ जो क्लीवेज है, जो डिविजन्स हैं, दे आर होलोब्लास्टिक. दे completely divide the blastula and it is radial in symmetry. The life history, it includes a free swimming ciliated stereogastrula जिसको हम planula larva कहते हैं, which helps in the dispersal of the species. So if I summarize the general features of phylum Coelenterata, first is that this is the second most important phylum of invertebrate, and it is the only phylum which has, number one, the tissue grade of organization. Second important characteristic about this organism is that they show polymorphism, means इनकी बॉडी के अंदर दो बेसिक zoids, दो बेसिक बॉडी फॉर्म्स होती हैं. The polyp, which is the asexual form, it is usually sedentary, may be present in the form of colonies. और दूसरा जो zoid है, that is medusa, which is the sexual free floating solitary form. किसी organism में it could be only the polyp, it could be only the medusa, या दोनों polyp और medusa भी exist कर सकते हैं, या इनकी modifications भी exist कर सकती हैं in an organism, exhibiting the property, as I said, polymorphism. Another important characteristic of the phylum is alteration of generation, what we call as metagenesis, where one zooid it gives rise to the another zooid. For example, polyp may give rise to the medusa, and medusa will again form the polyp. So there is alteration of generation. Only phylum in the entire invertebrates exhibiting this property of metagenesis. Next is there is no cavity as such, so they are acylomates, right? And जो डिप्लोब्लास्टिक होते हैं, there are two germ layers, the ectoderm and endoderm, जिससे दो layers body की derive हो रही हैं. Ectoderm will form the outer epidermis and the endoderm will form the gastodermis. There is the coelentron present, gastrovascular cavity, and hence this phylum gets its name Coelenterata. This gastrovascular cavity, it behaves as a hydraulic skeleton also. Besides, this also performs the function of circulation and also of digestion and absorption of the food. इसीलिए इसको हम कहते हैं gastrovascular cavity. जो reproduction है, it is both by asexual method. The polyp forms generally are asexual, reproducing by budding, and medusoid forms, they have simple gonads without gonoducts, so they are the sexual forms. यहाँ पे एक free swimming larva है present in the life history for dispersal, which we call as planula larva. So these are the general important features of the phylum Coelenterata. I hope this is helpful for you. Thank you and stay blessed.